All right, check one, check two. Welcome to the Countercultural Life Podcast. Episode doesn't even matter because we don't even know what episode we're going to be on. But we're going to roll with it anyway. I want to welcome one of my greatest life blessings, the greatest gift, one of the greatest gifts, one of 5 greatest gifts that God has ever given me. Right now, her mind is blown because she's like, I didn't know I had another brother or sister.
I process. You're talking about my mama, huh? You're talking about my mama.
Your mother. And this is my oldest daughter, Jada Carson. She is a 7th year student. She is in her 7th year of law school. She is home for not 7th year of law school. That would sound bad.
That would sound really bad.
Okay. She's in her 3rd year of law school, which is the final year, 7th year of school in total. Mm-hmm. And she is here visiting us before she comes home permanently and takes the bar here in the state that we are in. So welcome, Jada. How are you?
Good.
How is life?
Good.
How is being home?
I love it. I'm ready to come back permanently.
Ready to come back permanently. That is a beautiful thing. And we are in holiday season, so you kind of guess what time of the year this is. Don't know when this podcast is going to come out, but when it does, it's going to be useful. It's going to be beneficial. It's going to be valuable. We talk about 4 things, 4 areas that are very important to you as a person, very important to me as a person. So what are those 4 areas that I focus on? Jada, can you give me any of them?
Identity.
That is part of one area. That is part of one area. So the basis, the basic, the foundation of a person is what area? What area? I hope you got that look on the podcast will be phenomenal because that look, she's very intelligent, very bright, very smart. The next episode is going to be more about her, not this one, because we're going to get into the year in review and I want her to be with me on this one. So the key element of every person is spiritual, the spiritual aspect of a person. Then we have the mental aspect of a person. Then we have the emotional aspect of a person. Therein lay the identity portion of a person.
I got part of it. I sort of got there.
You sort of got there. And then you have the physical aspect of a person. So countercultural life. In my studies, in my research, in my life, in my path, my process, my journey that I've been on, I've come down to these areas as being the most important areas of a person. Some people would say, what about relationships? Well, I would say that if you are healthy in the 4 areas that I talk about, your relationships will also be healthy. So I don't count relationships as one of them. This is, and Noah cracks up, Noah behind the scenes, the man behind the curtain, the magic man behind the curtain. He hates it when I say it, so I say it every time. The best producer in the history of the planet. Watch out, Joe Rogan's guy. He's coming for you. He's coming for your job. Anyway, so it is. I don't even know where I was going now. I had something so good, and then I got distracted.
You got thrown off.
Got thrown off by trying to make Noah feel awkward. So, which is one of my favorite things because he does so well, and in life he's doing so well. On the podcast, doing so well. But I want to throw him off. And then by trying to throw him off, just now I threw myself off. So there's that. So 4 aspects of everyone's life that I believe are key.
I feel like you only gave 3.
So you got
spiritual, physical, mental.
Spiritual, physical, mental, emotional. Emotional is that identity portion where that comes out. I would say, and I had this conversation today with a guy that's trying to figure out life. And he had the same exact conversation with another person. And he said, I think he had it with his barber earlier this week or something. And it all comes back down to 4 things. And the 4 areas are tied to these 4 questions. So in my studies, in my research, in my journey, this is what I found in dealing with teaching leadership to thousands of people now over thousands of hours, dealing with leaders, executive coaching leaders at all different levels, from the highest levels of leadership all the way down to the frontline supervisors, all the way down to just people that are part of the team, and developing leadership and developing people. I found these 4 things. So these four things are the spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. Well, associated with the spiritual version, these four questions are questions that everybody at some point will ask themselves in this life, in this existence on this planet. So the spiritual question, where did I come from? Everybody has to wrestle with that. Where did I come from? The mental question, who determines right and wrong? Why do I say it's mental? Because that's the moral question. Mm-hmm. Mental, you have to use your brain. Ethics comes into play. Relativism, all those different things that help you determine right and wrong. Relativism is what we operate in a lot these days. And that's why I think some of us as a society is broken down, because there are no absolutes, it seems like, anymore. So I would say in the mental aspect, you have to choose a side, good or bad. You choose a side. Whether you're going to work for the good guys, whether you're going to work for the bad guys. Everybody chooses a side in their life. Then you have the emotional aspect. What am I here for? Why am I here? What's the meaning of life? Why am I on this planet? What was I put here to do? What is my mission? What is my goal? The Christian would say, why did God create me? People would try to figure out why they're here. What are they here for? And then physical, the aspect is we're all in a physical body. We're in a meat suit with a skeleton. Where do I go when it's over? Where do I go? Does my spirit go somewhere? Hopefully. Where does my body go? What actually happens? What happens at the end? So those four questions link to those four areas. That's what this is all about. Countercultural life is how do we go? A lot of things, and Noah cracks up. This is where I was going with the Noah comment. I would say this is not a Christian podcast, but every time we talk about Jesus in some way or a biblical concept in some way, I wanted to make this podcast though a very open place. A psychologically safe place would be the term and phraseology that people are using these days. I want to make this a psychologically safe place where people can come in and wrestle with different things, maybe about religion, maybe about society, maybe about their family, maybe about politics. I mean, I'm okay with all of those. I don't think we have spaces like that these days. We don't have spaces where people can, wrestle with things that they've been struggling with. So that's why it's called Countercultural Life. We do something different. We do life differently. So in this episode, we're going to focus on what I call, and I just built out this framework. I love this framework. I'm sending it to my key leaders. I'm sending it to my key clients that I'm working with right now. And it is called the Year in Review. So I am a believer in the only way, one of the key ways, not the only way, but one of the key ways to get better is when you reflect on what you've done. So there are some leaders throughout history. Ben Franklin had a whole thing that he would go through every day and see if he had met the mark in certain areas. Abraham Lincoln had a whole question framework that he would go through at the end of every day. Those are the two of the presidential leaders I know, but I know there's lots more leaders out there that have used reflection. We call it in the educational circles, in the coaching circles, we would call it reflection on action. Like when you reflect on what you did with a determination to get better, with a determination to learn. And then the super crispy thinkers.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know. It sounds like a cool term. I'm going to be judged by my daughter and by Noah, by the younger, cooler people in the room. The younger or the crispy thinkers, they would say reflection in action. When you get to that level of metacognition, what's thinking on thinking, you're actually able to process moments as they're happening and you reflect on the action in the moment. So reflection in action, reflection on action. But the year in review, why is this important? I believe that everyone should go through a series of questions when the year is shutting out, when you are shutting out the year, that will help you have a better start and be in a better space to go forward into the next year. So I have 4 areas where this comes into play. So we'll talk about all 4 areas and I'll ask you the questions. You don't have to answer them. I mean, just provide some thoughts on them, provide some insight on them. But the sections that we're going to go through in the year in review are the reflection on the year, the evaluate and learn section, the act on what matters section, and align with your faith section. So that is the last section. We'll get to that in a minute. So I believe you should go through questions. So in order to do this really effectively, you kind of have to have a good calendar so you can look back through over your year and kind of look at the different events that you did, the different meetings that you had, the different spaces that you were in, vacations, all of those things come into play. So it's always good to have a good calendar to do this with. But if you don't have a good calendar, just use your fantastical brain to the best of your ability and think through like some of the spots during the year where you can remember and answer some of these questions. So reflection on the year. First question. Tell me what you think about this one. Who were the key people, experiences, or commitments that brought you joy and life this year?
That's an important one.
Yeah.
I think just because why would you not continue to do those things that brought you joy?
Right. A lot of times, though, people don't realize until they think on it, those people, those situations, those circumstances that brought you joy throughout the year. And you want to reflect back during this time. And there's a couple things you want to do. So gratitude is real big in these days that we live in. They found links, positive links with health in association with gratitude. So, you wake up and you're supposed to think about 3 things and be grateful for 3 things at the beginning of your day that puts you in the right mindset. Well, I'm one of those people that believe highly in the concept of if you are grateful for someone, you should tell them. And don't just say, and I'll just say, Jada, I'm grateful that you're my daughter. No, why? Why? Because you're committed, you're devoted to your craft, you're trying to be the best that you can be. You have I would list off the things because I believe that gratitude left unsaid is ingratitude. So you have to think on those things. And then when you think on those things, those spots, those circumstances, experiences, or people, how can you celebrate these relationships and moments? Like, how can you celebrate them? And this is the key. Build time for them in the new year to do them again. So what are the energy creators in your life? Who are the energy creators? Making sure that you're setting up time to be with them. Make sure you're scheduling time to be with them. Like when you go through your calendar, you want to make sure you're building time to be with those people. So what are your thoughts on that? Like, what are you thinking right now?
I just think not enough people. I like the gratitude is, what did you say? Gratitude is ingratitude.
Gratitude left unsaid is ingratitude.
Yeah, because I feel like not enough people realize what an impact you being grateful for them can have.
Yeah.
Especially explaining, like, it's nice to know that you think I'm devoted to my craft and what I do. Like, that makes me feel good and want to go out and do other things to help hone that because I want other people to see it too.
Yep.
So I think it's important to realize that having gratitude makes other people thankful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's key. It's pushing that, those feelings forward to others and then hoping that they will do the same.
Take it out and do it again.
I mean, and that's what this whole thing's about. So, and then it's setting up those times during the year that you can spend time with them, that you can be with those energy creators. But on the flip side of that, we got to talk about the energy vampires. So then the second question is, what experiences, people, or commitments triggered negative feelings this year? And then the other key question that goes with it, how can you address or limit their impact moving forward? So everybody's got those people in their life that are energy vampires. Me and Mama walked through them last week, and she was surprised at some of my answers. She had no idea that some of these situations were actually energy draining for me, and some of the people that I was with were actually energy draining. And she was like, "I had no idea you thought that way." Which and everybody out there right now that's going to see the podcast, they're going to be like, "I hope it's not me."
It is me.
It's me. No, it's not. No one's going to know who it is.
I feel like if you think it's you, it's not you.
Right. Yeah. Or you're like, wait, was I the person? But it's very interesting though when you think about like, who are those people, and then how do I limit? Or here's the key thing that a lot of young folks struggle with these days. How do I set up boundaries in that relationship to keep them from draining? Or setting time frames, like if these are people that you have to spend time with, say it's a family member, and you know you're going to be around them at certain times. Like, how do I set up parameters in my life to where I'm like, okay, I start a clock. I got to be here for 60 minutes to be a good family member, to be a good brother, friend, whatever, sister. It doesn't matter. And how do I? Okay, 60 minutes. I've done my duty. I got to get away. We have somebody like that in our family. They may never see this podcast, but they are. I love them greatly, and we love them greatly. But anytime that you get around them, they drain you with the negativity and with the victimization and with the what would I call it? The intrinsic things. No, everything's extrinsic with them. It's everybody else's fault. It's never their fault. So it's not intrinsic, it's extrinsic. So you have those people. And I have to, that's why a lot of times I'll have you call the person, because I have to prepare myself to go into that space, because I know I'm going into a space. So you got anybody in mind in your life right now that you need to cut time with?
Yeah. But it's hard as a people pleaser to set those boundaries and cut those people out.
Okay, well, let's talk about that a little bit. So you're doing your year in review. You come to the second question and you go, okay, I'm a people pleaser. How do I cut them out? So let's talk about that. Walk me through that. Let's use that fantastical brain that you have spent the last 7 years developing fully. We'll talk more about that on the next podcast. One. How do you balance that? Because if you're a people pleaser but you're surrounding yourself with negative people, you're not going to be happy to please people, if that makes sense. So how would you do that?
It's something I've been working on. They're a little hard to avoid just because it's school. We're a small class in school, and they don't have as many other people. And that's where it gets hard, is I know that they don't have other people. So I've just been working on trying to limit the time and be as gentle as I can while also being firm, because it is one of those situations where you walk away and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm tired. Yep. That took a lot out of me mentally. So it's trying to reiterate to myself that I have to protect my peace as well.
Yep.
And it may hurt their feelings, but there's nothing I can do about how they feel.
And what you did right then, even as you described it, is you reflected on action, walking away from the person. Oh my gosh, that made me feel a certain way. What do I do? And that is a higher level thinking. So to be able to do that as a person is key as you grow, because it enables you to reflect and go, okay, how do I fix this next time? And then if we got into the emotional intelligence space, it also enables you to self-regulate before you go into that space again. So you're like, okay, I know this person drains me. I have to prepare myself emotionally to deal with whatever. So that's also a key aspect of emotional intelligence, which is more important. Yes, in this day and age that we live in, it is more important than IQ. Emotional intelligence, more important than IQ. 1,000%. I will argue that till the end. Anyway. All right, so here we go. Especially when it comes to leading people, because if you can be the smartest person in the room, if you don't know how to navigate the people environment, it don't matter how smart you are or what degree you graduated with or whatever level you went to scholastically. I have known and been around the smartest people that I would not follow to Taco Bell because they were clueless in what it took to lead people, and they were clueless in what it took to interact with people. And anyway, I'll do a leadership episode later. All right, next question. What did you accomplish this year that you're most proud of? And then the goal in this, and I kind of wrote SMART goals with these two. And the SMART goal for this, the specific, measurable, action-oriented, results, and timely. That's what SMART means. Every good goal has to be those things so you can really make sure that you're meeting the goal. So one of the SMART goals that I read for this was document 3 specific achievements and share them with your mentor by January 10th for feedback and growth planning. So document those events and then share them with your mentor. That would be a SMART goal. And then the flip side of that, what disappointments, regrets, or missing elements of your life did you experience this year? And how do you not do that next year? So, you could identify some missing elements. Like, I would go back to the 4 areas. I would say, okay, where was I missing something spiritually? Okay, was I in Christian community for the Christ followers? Was I in a good church, which would be considered an aspect of Christian community, though not the only one? Did I read my Bible this year? Did I pray? Did I spend time in meditation on Scripture? Like, did I do those things? That would be how I would kind of go through that. I would go through each one of those. Like, where was I missing the mark? Where was I missing the mark physically? Was I eating right this year? One of the things we're going to talk about in a future podcast is the importance, especially as you get older, of making sure that you are eating properly. You have the proper diet and rest are key things. Diet, rest, and exercise are the 3 key things to the physical aspect. So, all right. What disappointments? And then you want to, this is one that is key, very key. There's lots of research that backs this up. Some of the greatest athletes practice visualization. So some of the greatest athletes, basketball players I know, that would actually imagine the game before they played it. They would imagine the shots that they would take. They would imagine how they would come off the ball and dribble. Football players, same thing. They would imagine, receivers imagine their routes. The defenders imagine like where offensive players are going to be in certain plays. And they visualize that, and then they visualize how they're going to respond and react. So visioning for the future, as you reflect on last year, is now you want to cast a forward vision for yourself. Who is the Jada you want to be at the end of 2025? And you start visualizing that, and you get that. I would tell people to sit for a little while. I'm not going to give you a time frame. Sit for 30 minutes, sit for an hour. If you're a Christ follower, I would say pray through it. Like, God, what are you showing me? What do you want me to be in a year? And start visualizing those things that are going to get you to that person. Like, and this is not just a yearly thing. Like, I'm planning, I want to know what the 60-year-old version of me is going to be like. And I'm trying to build that right now. So it goes back to you are going to pay either now with the disciplines that you have, or you're going to pay later because you're not going to be able to do what you want to do. You're not going to be the person that you want to become. So visioning going forward. What do you think about that? Visualization, visioning. Like, what do you see at the end of this year for you? What do you see? What do you think? Where do you want to be at?
I'd like to be working. I know that. And comfortable with where I'm at.
Let's get specific. Let's just, and don't name the you don't have to name the place or what working. What salary you want?
Oh.
Visualize right now.
Oh.
Call it. I'm putting you on the spot.
Oh, I'd like to be comfortably in the upper, I would say 80 at least.
There you go. Okay.
In the upper 80.
So you start visualizing that now.
How I can get there.
What I can get there. What do I need to do? What are the things I need to develop in my life? What are the things? Are there disciplines that I need to work on? Do I need to work on items for my resume? Does my LinkedIn need to be cleaned up? So when you start thinking that way, when you start visioning it out in the future and saying, okay, I want to make this salary, then start praying it. If you're a Christ follower, not a Christian podcast, not a Christian podcast, you start putting it out there, and I can't even do it. I can't even be serious and say, put it out there in the universe. I can't do it. Pray about it. Think about it. This is where I want to be. And then start imagining that version of you, visioning it out, looking into the future. What do I need to do to get there? What are some of the things that I'm going to need to do to get there?
I've never put it into words. And as soon as I put it into words, I feel like I started processing, how is that going to happen? What am I going to do to make that happen?
Yep.
So I feel like even just putting it into words, that's where I want to be, forced me into comfortably making those decisions.
I want to grab my book right now, but I can't grab it because you just took me to another space. Noah, can you grab that book that's open right there on the desk with the pen in it? Let's talk about that for a second, because you just brought out a key concept. Purposeful yet accidental. Purposeful yet accidental. So what you said, when I start putting it into words, it becomes, here we go. You started doing what when you put it into words?
Thinking about how I could get there, what I needed to do.
Right. So we use this ancient book. Some people would call it the Bible. Smart people call it the Bible. And words and the power of words. So the concept of words comes out multiple times throughout the Old Testament and New Testament. It comes out multiple times. And it says, like John 1:1-3, the Word was with God and the Word was God. In the beginning was the Word was with God and the Word was God. And that's talking about Jesus right there, but it's interesting how they called him the Word. So the Word, just think on that for a second. All things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. All things were made through the Word. When you speak those things, God created. See, this is where people miss in the Bible. I'm trying to tell people, like, look, in the beginning, God created the heavens. He spoke them into existence. If we are created in the image of God, imagers of God, created in the image of God, the Imago Dei, for the fancy people out there. Oh, it's Imago Dei. Doesn't matter. It's Imago Dei.
You don't speak the language. You did your best.
I got fancy. I got too fancy. Imago, I add my own twist to it. That's the Italian version, Imago. Anyway, Imago Dei. You have that image of God. We are created in the image of God. If God spoke things into existence, that means there's power in the things that you say. Hebrews 11:3, New Testament. Universe was created by the Word of God. So that is seen. So what is seen was not made out of things that were visible. So words. Hebrews 4:17. It says, God calls those things that are not as though they were. Calling those things into existence. You start speaking those things over your life. You start speaking those things. This is the salary that I want, upper 80s. And then your mind starts locking into the vision that you've created with your words. That's why it's important. That was bonus teaching.
Just a little something extra.
A little something extra. A little something. So let's get back to it. Evaluate and learn. Oh my gracious. Evaluate and learn. Evaluate, learn. This is going to be a little bit longer podcast. It's an important one. So you get these things, you understand, evaluate and learn. What recurring themes stood out to you this year? What recurring themes stood out to you this year? And I like this. Where was God speaking to you the loudest? Now, people are automatically going, I don't know. I have to think about it. I have to think about the last year. Okay. That's why it's important to journal. Because journals will help you catch themes. And you'll start seeing those themes. I can look in my journal that's right over there on that desk, and I can show you it's a 10-year journal. So there's only like this much space to write, but all 10 years are on one page. So I can't remember when it started. It started 2018, I think. 2018 or 2019. Goes out to 2029. 5 years or 5 lines for every day. And I can look back. I think I'm like 5 years in right now. And I look back and I'm like, okay, that is a consistent theme over the last 4 years. So you got to have those themes. Where was God talking to you the loudest, or what consistent themes were coming out all year long? Next question. What life lessons had the greatest impact on you this year, and how have they shaped your perspective or priorities? So that's going to take some thought too. Like, this is not a sit down in one session and do. This is a sit down over 2 or 3 days, slowly walk through them. I would encourage you to kind of to meditate on the questions, to think through them. Next question. Who are your most, this is key. Oh my gosh, this is so key. Who are your most influential mentors? Key. And here's the thing. It doesn't have to be a person that you face-to-face talk to. I have actual real life face-to-face mentors, and I have what I call digital mentors or long distance mentors. Like, I could name out the mentors that I listen to on podcasts pretty consistently. and I could call those out if I wanted to. I might shout them out later. But I can also have my mentors, and I have mentors in every area. Those 4 areas, I have mentors in those 4 areas.
Oh.
So I have a physical mentor. I have an emotional mentor. Somebody kind of helps me work on identity in life. I have a spiritual mentor, and I have that mental mentor, which would be somebody that helps me in the mental space, which kind of for me is the business space too. So,
do you think it gives you a benefit to have a different person for each of those?
Get as many as you can.
As many as you can.
Get as many as you can. As many people that are willing to pour into you. Now, here's the flip side of that. You got to be willing to pour into others.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. And don't, and this is a whole different podcast, but don't walk up to somebody and say, will you be my mentor? Because no one knows what that means. Just say, hey, can I schedule a lunch with you, a coffee, sit down, hang out, and can we talk through things? And when you go to meet your mentor for the first time, when you actually have a sit down meeting with a face-to-face, bring questions and shut up. There's people that want me to mentor them that never shut up. So they'll come and they'll be like, hey, can we sit down and get coffee? And then they talk the entire time. Like, what do you want to learn something? Like, do you want to pick my brain on stuff? So I always say, bring questions. And I always have 5 questions written down. These are the questions that are important for me to ask during this session. So who are your mentors? Schedule time with them. So how do I do that? I schedule time with my mentors throughout the year, and I'll usually look on my calendar and see when and how to set that up. And then I schedule, like if you look in that little book that you handed, that Noah handed me, I can flip to a page right now and I can go, oh, look, there's my 4 areas: spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. In the mental area, it lists the podcasts I'm listening to right now and which ones I'm going to focus on this week. Because there's so many out there. It helps give you a good start. All right. Influential mentors. Make sure that you thank them too. Who your mentors are, make sure you thank them and when you schedule them. And then act on what matters. Is what do you need to stop doing in the new year? What do you need to stop doing? Example, I need to limit my social media use to 30 minutes a day. I need to drink less alcohol. I need to eat better. I need to stop eating so much processed foods and other crap that slows me down. I mean, those are just stuff I'm shooting off the top of my head. What do you value most in life? And this is a key one. I struggle with this one because I thought it should go up higher on the list, but I think it fits right here. What do you value most in life? And then making sure you're scheduling your values. So if you look in my calendar, you'll see that the things that I value are scheduled. So spiritual time is always on my calendar. And it's to the point now, my spiritual time, it doesn't have to be on my calendar because it's there every day. But my workouts, my family time's on my calendar, scheduling time with mama's on my calendar, with you and with your brothers and sisters, like those things are on my calendar. I'm trying to do dinners more with your brothers and trying to be a better mentor to them, be a good space for them to just continue to learn and grow. So things like that. And then how do you align your schedule with your values? When you align your schedule with your values, you experience inner peace. When your schedule is aligned with your values.
Explain that to me a little bit more.
Good.
Like lining up the schedule with values.
So if I don't have my devotional time on my calendar, I'm going to be off usually that day in my mind. I'm going to be a little bit off. I'm not going to be really in the space spiritually that I need to be. You know it. When I don't get to the gym, Mama said, you need to go to the gym. When I don't get to, I don't have that peace. I feel like something's off. Mama came in today and I was working through some stuff and I told her that I just felt off, and now the dogs go crazy. This is life, real podcast, real life. We have a very important person that just showed up. Have to get her on the pod. For those of you that can't see the greatest producer behind the scenes, he's smiling and turning a different shade right now because his fiance just walked in the door behind us. So we'll get more to that later. All right, closing this out. We're already over time. We're gonna close out. What are you most grateful for this past year? Making sure that you're going back to that gratitude space. I have a good exercise I built in called the letting go exercise, which is write down 3 things that you need to let go of this year and pray over that list and physically destroy the list. What are the 3 things? So it's kind of the mindset of I'm going to take these things that I need to let go of. I'm going to crumble them up paper. I'm going to throw them away. The action of, okay, I'm throwing these things away. So your let go exercise. And then the last section, but I would say the most important one is aligning with your faith. So you're going to pray through these reflections, and you're going to ask God to clarify what he wants you to know about the last year. As you've answered these, you're going to kind of be in a prayerful space anyway. And then it's going to help you determine, as you pray through these things, what things should you prioritize this year? What things should you release? How can you ensure your values, relationships, and faith are at the center of your life? And then make sure there's growth in these areas. What habits can you develop to increase the spiritual space, the mental space, the emotional space, and the physical space? What areas can you develop? So that's what we have. The year in review from the study studio, aka Kickback, the Kickback Palace.
Kickback Palace.
With my wonderful oldest daughter, Jada. Carson, represent, shout out, holla back. And we'll see y'all next time. Year in review. Take it seriously. Sit down, pray through it, do it. Peace.